Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this session on PPE solutions for the heavy manufacturing, metals, and transportation industries led by 3M. This is our first industry-specific training session like this that we've done for you, our industrial channel partners through the AD Safety Network, but we are delivering a series of similar industry trainings like this in the coming months, so stay tuned for that as well. So before we get started, I'll introduce you to your facilitators today. So first up, we have Scott Shin. Scott is a certified industrial hygienist and application engineering specialist in 3M's personal safety division. He's got more than 30 years of health and safety program management experience and a great wealth of knowledge on health and safety compliance requirements in the US and global markets. For the past 15 years, Scott has supported the development and selection of 3M's PPE equipment with the primary focus on supporting customers in our HMT segment. Scott has a bachelor's degree in biology, a master's degree in industrial safety and hygiene from the University of Minnesota, Duluth. Second, we have Nikki Schwalbeck. Nikki has a bachelor's degree in speech pathology and audiology from Western Michigan University, as well as an MBA from Western Governors University. Nikki started her career in the Orlando public school system as a teacher for several years before transitioning into a medical device sales role. She's been with 3M since 2014. Within the personal safety division, and she is currently a senior key account program manager dedicated to the heavy manufacturing and transportation segment. Myself, I'm Dana Robinson. I'm a marketing and business development professional with 16 years of experience delivering industry targeted integrated marketing programs to various industrial markets. I've lived and worked all over the world and taught a number of marketing, sales, and business strategy courses at the university, college, and industry levels to professionals like yourselves. In terms of educational background, I have an undergrad in business, applied health science management, master's in professional communications, and postgrad diplomas in corporate event planning, digital marketing, and project management. Currently, my role, I'm the North American segment marketing manager for all of our industrial segments for 3M's personal safety division. So that's your 3M team today. Just a few quick points before we get started. All of the statistics and facts presented here today are based on the US federal requirements. If you are situated outside of a US market, please make sure that you are consulting your local laws and regulations or touch base with one of us, and we will put you in touch with the 3M regulatory specialist in your given region. This is an overview presentation. It is not intended to be any kind of a certification program. And we just ask that you don't reproduce this content or share it outside of your own organization. So with that, we will get into our presentation here today with you. So we're going to start off with a bit of an industry overview for you. So within 3M, we have a variety of different segments that we really focus on in terms of industrial markets. The biggest of which is HMT. So HMT is an acronym standing for Heavy Manufacturing, Metals, and Transportation Manufacturing. So this is a huge bucket, but certainly a market that we have put a lot of rigor behind developing specialized products for, as well as a variety of sales and marketing assets for our channel partners. So the way that this rolls out, we look at it by NAICS code. So the heavy manufacturing umbrella encompasses, quite a few different subsegments under manufacturing. Out of scope for today's presentation is anything transportation service related, so any kind of commuter transport, as well as any mining activities although many of the mining companies do also have smelting operations. So we will speak to the smelting, not to the mining, but we do have a dedicated mining session that will come for you in the coming months. Okay, in terms of the outlook of the North American market, of course, last year we saw a number of challenges related to COVID. We saw major customers that were not operational or operating with a skeleton crew. So big declines in this market last year. We are now seeing some strong growth as this market begins to rebound and get back to normal. And we expect to see pretty sustainable growth in the medium and longer term as well in this market. It's a very diversified market as well, which is working in our favor. In terms of addressable market for PPE, our analysts estimate that it's about a $1.3 billion market in North America, just shy of $1 billion in the US market. Okay, in terms of subsegment breakdown, as you can see, the heavy machinery and equipment and transportation manufacturing subsegments are the two biggest within the HMT umbrella. Certainly, we're seeing a lot of opportunities in the transportation sector right now. And so that's kind of where we've told our reps to focus attention in the short term as things are returning to normal. This is kind of a helpful breakdown from the US Census that shows the type of worker by these subsegments. So as you know, for example, a welder would be wearing a lot more PPE than someone like a frontline production supervisor. So certainly as you're selling into these industrial customers, it's really helpful to have an appreciation for what types of workers in which crafts they have on their production floor, so that you can come up with a better understanding of what the addressable market is at that particular customer site. So in terms of breakdown, so the heavy equipment and machinery subsegment, that includes everything from agricultural and construction equipment manufacturing, as well as mining equipment, general purpose machinery. And anything like that that's being manufactured for heavy industrial work. And any organization that's making these products themselves or doing the metalworking behind it. On the primary metals front, that kind of includes the full gamut of foundries, aluminum, iron production, all sorts of different metal activities, and ferrous and non-ferrous metals as a part of that as well. On the transportation manufacturing side, we've really got kind of the four key areas. We've got your motor vehicle manufacturing, which includes kind of heavy motor vehicles, aerospace, rail, and then ship and boat building. So you may not all have these specific sites in your territories, depending on where you're located. But certainly, again, we see kind of strong growth in these areas in particular. So if you do have rail or ship in your territory, aerospace, those are all some really good customers to go after at this current state. I've provided kind of a more detailed breakdown by the various crafts that you will get in the accompanying deck. But in the interest of time, we wanted to focus more on some of the sales techniques. So when we look at how the HMT segment breakdown goes by portfolio, of course, you can see this is very heavily weighted towards our respiratory portfolio. So powered and supplied air, reusable respiratory, disposable respiratory. So when you're setting foot in these sites, we always say, you know, you should be leading with respiratory and asking those kind of research and identifying questions based on respiratory first and foremost. So in terms of our segment methodology to selling, this is a slide that we use to train our internal sales force as well as our inside sales team. When we're selling into a segment, we always say, just try to solve the greatest problem. You may not be able to solve all of the problems that they're experiencing at once, but find out what their particular pain point is and delve into that first. Um, and by understanding the business and the industry, you're able to ask the right questions and ask intelligent questions that are going to ultimately build that trust with the customer and get the sale. Okay, so now I'll pass it off to my colleague Scott, who's going to go over some key applications as well as some statistics in this industry.
Great, thanks Dana, and hello everybody. Yeah, what I want to cover today is a fairly high level overview of some injury illness statistics for these HMT industries, as well as some common hazards that are encountered. And then I'll get into a little more detail on some of the hazards and applications towards the end of my part here too. So what you see on this screen here is US BLS statistics from 2019. These are injury and illness statistics, and what's shown is the number of recordable incidents by OSHA's definition, what OSHA requires manufacturers to report, and then the incident rate or the injuries and illnesses per 100 full-time workers. So if you look at that bottom row where it says all industries, that is the number of recordable injuries, incidents for all injuries. All industries. This includes manufacturing, construction, and the service industries, as well as the incident rate. So the incident rate is 3.0. So you can consider that the average incident rate for all industries. If you look at the segments in the boxes, these are the HMT segments based on NAICS code. You will see, with the exception of machinery manufacturing, which is the same as the all industry, metal fab, transportation manufacturing, primary metal manufacturing are all higher. They all have higher incident rates than the average. So you can take this to mean that they have more injuries than the average and maybe higher risk at their facilities. Next, Dana. So a little more detail on the types of or the numbers of injuries. 176,000 non-fatal recordable injuries and illnesses per year. This is based on 2018 and 19 BLS data. Of those, almost 100,000 of those result in lost work days, whether that's days away from the job restriction, or job transfer. Roughly 145 people died from these incidents over that time period. And of those deaths, 16% were due to slips, trips, or falls. And that can be either a fall to the same level or a fall to a lower level. About 15% of the deaths were due to exposure to harmful substances or environments, and 32% were due to contact with objects and equipment. Next, Dana. Now, what you see on this slide here is the most cited OSHA standards for HMT industries, a selection of those. So this is again based on on 2019 through 2020 data. And what I did is I looked at each NAICS code, which was reported, and provided the #1 cited standard. So you can see it's either going to be lockout, tagout, or respiratory protection. And then I went down the list for each segment and picked the next top 6 that were or that are related in some form to personal protective equipment use. Now you notice that respiratory protection is included in all 4 of these buckets, and that may not always be directly related to the use of PPE. It may be maybe a deficiency in a written program. It may be a lack of medical evaluation, but it could be fit testing. It could be something with selection and use. It could be a variety of different things. But respiratory protection, top 5 in each of these buckets. Other common issues include fall protection, spray finishing operations, confined spaces included. And again, these may not be directly related to PPE use, but certainly have the potential to include deficiencies in programs, selection, and use of PPE. Next, Dana. Great. So we at 3M evaluated each type of industry: heavy machinery, metal manufacturing, and transportation, and picked out what we believe are the most common applications in these industries, have the most number of workers in these different segments. So for example, heavy machinery includes welding, painting and coating, maintenance activities, assembly, and grinding and surface prep. And then those are going to be common in a lot of the other buckets, metal manufacturing and transportation as well. And we've gone through, and you'll see some slides going forward. Thank you. Nope, you're fine, Dana. Thank you. Where we've gone through and looked at various applications, we picked the top 3 to focus on for this presentation. Identified some of the more common hazards, identified common 3M solutions, as well as some additional 3M solutions that are not PPE related. So if we look at welding, grinding, and surface prep, common hazards include arc radiation and welding fume from the welding process, dust, particulate exposures, eye injuries, noise-induced hearing loss, heat stress. These are common hazards. The solutions, 3M solutions, again, we have a wide variety of solutions for many different applications. It's really up to the employer, right, to assess their working environment, their conditions, their risks and hazards, and really up to the employer to select the most appropriate solution. Now, we do offer, again, as far as respiratory protection, we have welding respirators. A lot of these integrated with powered and supplied air. We also have reusable respirators and disposable respirators, sometimes referred to as elastomeric facepiece respirators and filtering facepiece respirators that can be used in addition to a welding shield. For head-eye face protection, a number of face shields, a number of hard hats, a number of different eyewear, and of course hearing protection, whether it be a ear muff or ear plug, many different passive hearing solutions. With respect to additional 3M solutions, obviously our abrasive products are used very frequently in the grinding and surface prep applications. Next, Dana. Looking at painting and coating, hazards can include airborne vapor and particulate from the spray application process, eye injuries, eye irritation, skin exposures from direct contact, heat stress in some cases, and noise-induced hearing loss. And again, we've got a wide variety of solutions, reusable respirators for painting, to powered and supplied air systems for painting, protective coveralls to help protect the painters from contact with the chemicals, and different types of hearing protection. Again, passive hearing products, including various earplugs and ear muffs. Additional solutions can include adhesive and tapes, a wide variety of products from our automotive aftermarket division, and various films and coatings. And the third application I'm going to cover today is casting and pouring. So this would be related to the steel manufacturing, aluminum manufacturing, and foundry applications. Metal fume, metal dust, very common in these industries, these applications. Radiant heat, infrared radiation, falling objects, eye injuries, thermal burns, and noise-induced hearing loss. Again, another not common hazard. As far as solutions, we've got a wide range of powered and supplied air respiratory protection, as well as, again, reusable respirators, disposable respirators. We have radiant heat kit accessories for use with our powered and supplied air systems to help reflect that radiant heat and provide protection and comfort. For head, eye, face protection, we have a number of products that are designed for high heat applications. Elevated temp hard hat, aluminized face shields, various eyewear, some with tints and IR protection. And again, hearing protection, passive hearing products. In addition to protective communications, now we've seen an increase in the need for communicating. An example would be a crane operator communicating with ground personnel when navigating overhead loads. That's something we're seeing in the foundry industries quite often these days. So next, Dana. So a little more detail on some specific types of hazards and injuries. One of the more common injuries we encounter when we work with our customers are eye injuries. These can be due to high velocity particles, say from grinding applications, low velocity particles such as welding flux, welding fume, just that light particle that tends to float in the air, maybe from hot molten metal, whether that's from casting pouring operations or weld spatter during the weld process, and arc radiation from welding. That could include infrared radiation, ultraviolet radiation, and also visible light radiation. Next. Another example of potential respiratory hazards specifically for welding are exposures to welding fumes. Now, welding fumes can include oxides of iron, oxides of zinc, manganese, hexavalent chrome, nickel, and aluminum. Some of these fumes, for example, iron oxide, are fairly benign. However, they can cause some long-term effects on significant overexposure. Zinc oxide or overexposure to zinc oxides can cause what we call metal fume fever. I'm sure if you've ever been in the welding process, welding field, you've heard of that that type of illness. Manganese oxides overexposure can lead to manganism, and other neurological disorders. Overexposures to hex chrome can lead to some forms of cancers, as well as nickel oxides, and of course aluminum oxides with welding on aluminum can lead to other types of respiratory hazards. Now, studies have shown that the majority of the oxides and the metal fumes produced come from the consumables in the weld process. So about 90 to 95% of the fume generation comes from the welding rod or welding wire, where 5 to 10% comes from the base metal. So as employers look at assessing these operations, they need to look at both the base metal and the consumables to determine what the hazards may be. Next, Dana. Silica, I'm sure you're all aware that several years ago, OSHA finalized their crystalline, respirable crystalline silica rules. There are several applications within the primary metal industry that can have a significant exposure to respirable crystalline silica. These include, for example, abrasive blasting, shakeout, fettling, mold making, and refractory repair and removal. We did create several years ago a technical bulletin titled Adapting Metalworking Safety Programs for the New Silica Standard. So if you're interested, that can be found on our website. We're just searching that title on the internet, should bring that up for you. So lots of good information for you there if you're calling on those foundry and metalworking customers.
That will be included as well in the post event package.
Great, thanks, Dana. Painting and coating, as you're all aware, right? Most metals, right, will require some type of treatment or coating to prevent corrosion. Commonly, these are sprayed with coatings for that treatment. So common examples of respiratory hazards can include airborne particulates, both from liquid paints and coating application and powder coatings, organic vapor exposure from the solvent content in those paints and coatings. The solvent-based products are more of a concern normally. There's normally less risk with the waterborne and water-based type products. However, it is still required that employers do perform an assessment. Other hazards can include triglycerol isocyanurate, which is a component of a lot of powdered coatings. TGIC is a skin sensitizer, meaning repeated skin contact can lead to the development of an allergic reaction. Diisocyanates, these are components of polyurethane paint and coating systems like TGIC. Diisocyanates are skin and respiratory sensitizers. And hexavalent chrome, we touched on that with the welding fume. Some chromates can be found in various types of protective coatings, primarily in the marine and aerospace type of businesses. And again, overexposure to these can lead to some forms of cancers. Next. Noise hazards. Noise is everywhere, as we know. Within the HMT industries, common applications may include welding, grinding, sanding, abrasive blasting, arc gouging, forging, stamping, machining and machine noise. All of these can produce high levels of noise, oftentimes above the OSHA PEL or action levels. If workers are exposed for a prolonged period of time. Extremely important that the employers, right, conduct an assessment, conduct noise monitoring, identify which of those operations, which workers are exposed, and implement appropriate controls. Next. We are approaching spring summer season, which means the risk of heat stress in a lot of areas, in most areas, will be increasing. In the foundry metal manufacturing type industries, this is a typical normal occurrence. Working with the molten metal and near furnaces. Important that, again, employers monitor the work environment, workers take breaks and hydrate, limit time in those high heat areas. As with all hazards, we need to consider engineering and or administrative controls to reduce risk. And if PPE is going to be used, there are some solutions which can help reduce risk of heat stress. These may include reflective clothing to reflect that heat from furnace operators and such, as well as cooling valves for supplied air systems, which can reduce the temperature of the incoming air. Next. Confined space, I believe this is my last slide. Confined spaces in metalworking, confined spaces are everywhere, every industry. Confined spaces in the HMT industries can include, facility-related spaces, such as storage tanks, wastewater pits, pipe chases, pipe tunnels, that sort of thing. They can also be present in process operations, painting, coating, or welding inside of a storage vessel, painting, welding inside of a tank car, or painting and coating in a ship bulkhead or ship compartment. These are all examples of confined spaces in the HMT industries. Important to remember that the applications, the work being performed in these spaces can result in lower air quality than when that worker entered. For example, grinding or welding in a confined space will generate welding fume and maybe some gases from the weld process that may change the atmosphere. So extremely important that employers monitor the atmosphere of those confined spaces before and during entry of those confined spaces. So you'd look at oxygen content, carbon monoxide, other contaminants present, lower explosive limit, and others, depending on what process and what is in those confined spaces to begin with. Next, Dana. Great, so that's all I had, and I will turn it over to Nikki for her part here.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. Well, thanks everyone for inviting me to present solution-based selling. I'm real excited to be here, so let's just jump right in. So within the HMT industry, you have certain applications that workers do on the daily. Scott's made mention of many of those, and I'm just gonna reiterate some of those daily tasks. So first being welding and grinding applications. So to really understand what the customer's pain points and their challenges are while their employers or employees are welding and grinding, it's best to ask research questions as well as identifying questions. That way you can really find out which PPE products to suggest. So, for example, let's get the ball rolling. You could start your conversation by asking a research question like, while your employees are welding, what hazards are you mostly concerned about? And maybe, just maybe, they're concerned because recently they've noticed that some of their workers have had threshold shifts in their yearly audiograms. So the reply to me would be noise-induced hearing loss. Then I would ask them an identifying question like, please explain to me how you're currently mitigating those noise exposures in the workplace. From their answer, that will really help me provide the right PPE solution. So let's say they come back to me and they say, well, I'm mitigating that loud, noisy area by offering a box of roll-down foam earplugs in the break room. That's my cue. So that's when I'm going to start to suggest the right hearing option that would help alleviate their noise-induced hearing challenges. So a hero product that I would usually, as my go-to, suggest would be the flexible fit earplug. It's pictured right there on the right-hand side of the slide. Now, the flexible fit earplug has a real firm and flexible stem, and it allows real easy insertion into the ear canal. Your employees can do it with one hand or with two hands. And the noise reduction rating, if they do it properly with two-hand insertion, is a 30 dB, 25 dB for one-hand insertion. Now, a stem on the flexible fit really does allow for that easy insertion to the ear with even a gloved hand or dirty hands. So I know for a fact when I've put earplugs in and you do the roll downs, you can get dirt and grime and grease in your ear. So with a stem, kind of helps eliminate that. And when trained properly, it can really help protect your employees' your hearing. So we also have with that flexible fit earplug a cord, and that cord can act like a retainer by threading the cord into many different styles of eyewear that 3M manufactures. And that cord, which is nice, is that it acts like a lanyard around one's neck. So it will hopefully eliminate a lot of waste. Because I don't know about you all, but when I go out sometimes out in the parking lot, you find a lot of foamy earplugs laying around. Well, this hopefully, if it's retained into the eyewear arms of glasses, will help eliminate some of that waste. We do have great promos for the flexible fit earplug, and Dana at the end, she's going to discuss how to reach out to a 3M sales specialist for more details on that. So now if a customer makes mention that their pain points while their employees are welding and grinding is eye injuries, heat stress, respiratory hazards, then a go-to PPE solution would be a speed glass welding helmet with a powered air purifying respirator, which is called a PAPR. Now, PAPRs combine multiple forms of PPE into one easy peasy solution. You got your head, your eye, face, and respiratory protection, all those needs met in one-stop shop. And a PAPR will provide a constant flow of air to the welder, so it will hopefully alleviate some of their heat issues. Now, it is ambient air, so it's not going to necessarily make the welder cooler. So we do have suggestions for heat stress, maybe to pair up with a speed glass welding helmet with supplied air, and as Scott mentioned, a 3M Vortex cooler. Now that Vortex cooler is nice because it does have more of a cooling effect for the welder to not feel so hot. But the only caveat is you are going to have a 25, 50, or 100-foot hose that you're going to have to kind of pull around, where a PAPR is just a backpack or a waist belt, and you can bebop all over the place, feeling a lot more cool than wearing a half or full face respirator all day. Now, a great suggestion to offer in the way of a welding head top with a PAPR would be our 3M G501, which is also labeled on this slide. This helmet is 3M's 5th generation in the Speed Glass family, and it is super impressive. Now, some key pearls of the G501 is that the welder can have a better view and control of the weld puddle with the Speed Glass variable color ADF technology, which means that the welder can choose between a natural, a cool, or even now a warm tone for their dark state. And that definitely helps with clarity while they weld. Also, there's Bluetooth app option with this welding helmet that allows the welder to change their ADS welding settings from their smartphone. And if they need to get any instructions or any how-tos, they can actually utilize that from their Bluetooth app as well. Another great feature is that the G501 helmet, it allows the welder to direct their airflow. So they can direct it if they want it to either go in their face, their visor, or somewhere in between, which is super great because I've had conversations with welders. They say at times when they have the air positioned, it only enters in one way. And that entering in one way sometimes will go up their nose or towards their eyes, and it really dries them out. So having that flexibility of where to direct your air is key. Another product that I wanted to quickly highlight on this slide is the 3M 6500 series half-face reusable respirator. Now this respirator has a low profile, so it fits very easy under a 3M welding helmet, such as the pictured 9002 NC, which stands for natural color. The 6500 half-face respirator has a quick latch option, so a welder can quickly lower their mask to speak to a colleague or get a drink of water without having to take the whole respirator off. This respirator can be paired with a P100 2091 filter. We also have listed an 8515 N95 disposable respirator, and that fits also real nice under a welding helmet. These respirators have a cool flow exhalation valve, which is a one-way valve for easy exhalation and cool comfort. And I have seen for a fact that this, with that exhalation valve, it does help by having your air go down and not up, so less fogging of your eyewear, which is key. Now, the safety glasses that are listed on this slide is the Secure Fit 500 series. Now, these glasses offer the wearer adjustable ratcheting temples. There's a pressure diffusion temple technology, which is a big term, which means these glasses have flex temples and a self-adjusting to the size of the wearer. So that means it's not going to pinch your head if you're wearing them over time. It's not going to give you a headache over time. And you can actually get foam-lined gaskets to help with the comfort of wearing these glasses. And with those foam gaskets, it kind of makes for a more flush-like feel towards your face. So it helps with less exposure to dust and debris. Another great feature of these glasses, they have top-notch Scotchgard anti-fog, anti-scratch technology that's impregnated into the glass. It's so awesome. I mean, seriously, I was out at a dairy processing plant not too long ago. So refrigeration environment, okay? And then I walked outside where I live in the hot Florida sun, and I am telling you, I did not have to take my glasses off. Use my shirt sleeve to wipe off any condensation buildup. It's like witchcraft. They're awesome. So reach out, please, to a 3M safety specialist in your area and ask for a sample. Give it a try. Test them out yourself. All right, now let's look at, Dana, another application that would be done in HMT, which is painting and coating. So a research question just to get things going with your customer, ask right off the bat, what hazards are you most concerned about while your employees are painting? And then what PPE are your employees using right now? A follow-up identifying question to really dig deep, which it could be if you could change one thing about your PPE that you offer your employees, what would it be and why? Now, as you can see from this slide, that some of the same pain points that the customer may have had in the previous welding and grinding application slide, such as respiratory, eye injuries, high noise, heat stress, we have all those, some of those the same, but now we see that we have skin exposure issues that are listed. So let's start with a PPE solution to help with skin exposure hazards. A suggestion to help eliminate that skin exposure would be a 3M protective apparel. So we have over to the side listed a 4540 plus coverall picture. Now these coveralls, they do help protect against liquids, light splashes, hazardous dust, and there's a really great breathable back panel. And that back panel helps improve air ventilation and reduce heat on the worker. All 3M coveralls, we do have them available in hooded or in collared versions, and an anti-static treatment with knit cuffs and elastic waist and ankles, which really do add to increased comfort. So once you learn from the customer their care-abouts, again, regarding their employees who paint and coat, then suggesting a possible PPE solution is going to be just a piece of cake for you. So as a reminder, the respiratory head, eye, and face pain points, we have the 3M PAPR system, which is designed to work together as one single unit, combining all the respiratory head, eye, and face protection. And a benefit of using a PAPR, again, is the fact that you have more comfortable breathing. A PAPR system uses a motor blower instead of your lungs, that lung power to draw in the air from and through the filter process. So this allows you to breathe more naturally with feeling a constant airflow in your head. The PAPR displayed on this slide is an intrinsically safe version called the 3M TR800 VersaFlow, which is suggested to be used during painting and coating applications because of the intrinsic factor. Now you can pair up various head tops with any of our PAPRs, whether it's a S-Series sealed seamed hood or maybe an ANSI rated M-Series hard hat. And I'm telling you, just recently, I was out at a training event and a guy raised his hand and kind of yelled at me that, "Lady, you saved my marriage by 3M making these PAPRs." And obviously I'm like, well, I am amazing, but do tell. So he said to me that usually with a half and a full face respirator while he is working, he would come home and sit in the lazy boy and be lazy. Well, now, because he's not having to use so much energy with his lung power, he's coming home and he's doing household chores. And his wife is like, "I'm in love with you again." So I'm not only a safety specialist, I'm like a marriage worker here. So anyways, PAPRs are awesome. But if, let's say by chance, the right solution to the customer isn't a PAPR and they want to use a full face reusable respirator, well, we have a full face 400 series that's awesome to be used with a 60921 organic vapor HEPA cartridge. It'd be a great choice for respiratory protection. Now that full face 400 respirator has a real large lens, and that provides a great field of view. Also, the Scotchgard, again, that I was speaking to you about within the glasses that we offer, that Scotchgard anti-fog technology is baked into the glass. There's a soft silicone nose cup and face seal, so it's very comfortable. And the passive speaking diaphragm is positioned right in the front of the respirator, so it allows for real easy communication between workers. The next slide, Dana, that I want to address is smelting and casting applications. The pain points most likely would be, again, respiratory hazards from metal fume and dust, radiant heat, infrared, thermal burns. We got eye injuries and high-level noisy areas. So a research question to fact find maybe would be, Mr. Customer, what are you most concerned about while your employees are involved in casting applications? Now, if the response is radiant heat exposure, then an identifying question that I would use might be, now share with me, how do you mitigate radiant heat exposure currently? Now, from their answer, you could really understand more of what they have done and what they need to do. And then you can then make the appropriate PPE suggestions from their answers. So the products to the right show some of the 3M extreme heat safety products. The H700T head top, it's engineered to withstand radiant heat loads of up to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. The new design of this helmet is very lightweight. And there are accessory slots that you can incorporate earmuff attachment. And you can also incorporate then a W series impact resistant high heat face shield. Now it's available in white, yellow, or light blue to accommodate the color coding in the workplace. You can also incorporate a molten metal neck guard, the NC2-GR. You can put that all together in a one-stop shop, and that neck guard is designed to help protect against molten metal splash, radiant heat, and flame hazards. We also have pictured on this slide an M300 series ANSI rated approved hard hat helmet, which now can be integrated with a 3M Peltor microphone. It's located inside the helmet, which allows for hands-free communication. Now, this was designed to reduce the need for a worker to raise their visor to speak, which in turn can cause injuries. It's a great way to offer communication to your customers. My last HMT application slide, Dana, would be to highlight fall protection. Now, a research question right off the bat to a customer. I would ask her, what are your current workplace hazards? Is it working at height or is it dropped objects? Now, if it's working at height, another research question maybe to ask would be, how long are your employees working at height? Now, if they say 6 to 8 hours a day, then obviously we need to hone in on that. And we need to suggest something comfortable, a durable harness that's going to be adequate for all day wear. A suggestion may be the ExoFit Next vest style harness that's pictured over here to the right. This 3M fall protection harness has quick connect buckles, a stand-up D-ring in the back, which really helps with your range of motion and assists in connecting your retractable lanyard. Another research question to help with the selection process regarding harnesses, I would ask, are your employees working at height? Are they going to be carrying tools? Now, if they say yes, then obviously we would want to suggest a harness with a belt for tool attachment. The ExoFit Next series has many harness options to meet the needs of workers that are working at height. And a great head top to pair up with this ExoFit Next harness would be the 3M X5000 Secure Fit Climbing Helmet with a magnetic chin strap. This helmet has a pressure diffusion technology which reduces the forehead pressure, and it's available in vented model, which has vents not only on the sides, but venting in the back. And then you can also get non-vents. And you can customize this head top to tailor all of your various accessories that you may need. We have 3M short visors you can incorporate, or face shields. You can put task lighting. There's just a lot of different options here. An identifying question that I would ask a customer, too, regarding working at height is, explain to me the risks or hazards that your workers could be exposed to while working at height. And for example, it may be welding. So a suggested product would be a harness then that we would make sure would meet their hot work needs with Nomex and Kevlar material and a lightweight SRL for that particular application. A couple more questions I'd like to address is, do you have employees that are exposed to a leading edge? And while working at height, where is your typical tie-off point? Now, if it's overhead, if it's waist level, or if it's foot level, we need to know that. Then from there, that's where you distill down and provide an applicable anchor for that tie-off location and connecting device rated for that attachment. Another question about tie-off is, where's your typical tie-off point and your structure? This could lead to the leading edge discussion, where a worker must use a fall protection product designed for leading edge and rated for a leading edge foot level anchor. Now, a suggested product would be a Smart Lock SRL, which is pictured on the sides of the slide. It's a personal retractable unit for vertical and horizontal work. The Smart Lock has a swiveling anchor and carabiner, ergonomic handle, and a magnetic retraction control. Therefore, if you let loose, it's going to retract really at a slow rate, so it will eliminate that potential of a backlash. Now, if the concern from the customer is the lethal potential of a dropped object injuring their employees, that would be a huge concern. Who wants to be kissed in the face by a spud wrench? Or who wants a tape measure to fall out of a worker working at height and ricochet and off a building and then knock out their teeth, right? Am I right? So we would suggest then 3M fall protection for tools. It'd be a perfect time to discuss the product offering in that category. I'd also like to make mention now that we do have great options for 3M fall protection training. We have those options available in person, or we can do an online version. We even have 3M fall protection demo trucks Now, these trucks can be driven by a certified fall protection specialist on property, and they can provide customers with multiple sessions of training focused on, the ABCDs of fall protection, proper use and inspection of harnesses and SRLs. I mean, you can really tailor the needs of your fall protection classes with the help of fall protection specialists. And remember, I'm talking fall protection, the National Safety Stand Down to prevent falls in construction is scheduled for May 3rd through 7th. So I'm now at my end. Hopefully you gathered I'm very passionate about safety, and I really hope you got some takeaways about how to sell effectively in HMT. Thanks for your attention and stay safe.
Thanks so much, Nikki. Okay, we've provided in the accompanying package to you some quick links to a variety of different sales resources that might be helpful to you in the HMT industry. So we have kind of a quick reference 3E selling guide. We've got some information on some of the channel promotions for welding products, as well as some multimedia assets there. I'd encourage you as well to have a peek at the productivity case studies. Scott and the team has put together some really great end user case studies that go through some of the productivity and comfort statistics directly from on-site studies. We've also provided a couple of other resources to you, as well as a whole host of COVID specific resources for these industries. So please do have a peek there. As I mentioned, we will be partnering with the AD Safety Network to deliver specific industry training sessions in the coming months, the next of which is construction on the Friday of Safety Stand Down Week. As Nikki mentioned, that is a big program for us as well on the fall protection side. And we have circulated a stand down toolkit to our channel partners. If you did not receive that, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to circulate that to you as well. Then we'll do mining, pharma, and food and bev. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for those coming sessions as well. So I'll leave it here. I know we're close to time, but Nikki and Scott and I are available to stay on if there are any questions.
Hey guys, it's Samantha here from Safeopedia. I just wanted to let you know, as usual with our 3E training, now is the time to ask any questions. So get those in here. As Dana said, they will stick around to answer some of those questions. I personally just want to thank 3M and Dana and Nicole and Scott for their time today. You guys did a really great job. As always, Todd would like to say greetings from Louisville, Kentucky, longtime listener, first time caller. Thank you for providing the information today. So if anybody else has any questions, we'll get the ball rolling on those. So while people are getting those questions, and Dana or Nicole or Scott, did you guys have any parting words for the audience? Anything to keep top of mind, or anything that we should take away from today?
Well, Pappers, I think I was pretty energetic about it, and just this past weekend I saw my kid on a riding lawnmower wearing one. So hey, if it's good for his respiratory needs, it's good for others, right?
Yeah, and just to add on to what Nikki said there, there are a lot of solutions available, whether it's head, eye, face, respiratory, hearing. Important to look at the specific application, the specific environment, and select the most appropriate protection, considering the workers, how it's been used, environmental conditions, comfort, and productivity. So it all meshes into one selection process.
I think as well, if there are questions beyond what we covered today, feel free to reach out to any of us at any point in time. We have a whole host of respiratory, fall protection, core safety specialists throughout North America available in your particular region to assist you. And Scott, Nikki, and I are more than happy to put you in touch with the appropriate contact there.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Other than a couple of thank yous coming in, it doesn't look like we have too many questions. So as Dana said, if you have any questions or you need to reach out for more information, check out the screen right now. You'll see everybody's email addresses, or you can reach out to us at Safopedia and we'll connect you to the right people. But other than that, I just want to thank everybody for coming out today. Remember, your 3E trainings are always available, so get in touch with us to find out when those are, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.